ที่อยู่ในนิทานจะใส่มงกุฎอันแสนสวยงามแต่ว่าราชาของฉันเวลาออกไปทำงานมีเพียงหมวกเล็กๆแค่1 ใบเขาบอกพระราชามีแต่คนรับใช้จะไปไหนก็แสนจะสุขสบายแต่ว่าราชาของฉันทรงเหนื่อยล้ามามากมายลำบากเพื่อเราคนไทยทุกๆคนเขาบอกพระราชานั่งอยู่บนบัลลังก์ใส่เสื้อคลุมหนังบนยอดปราสาทเสียดฟ้าแต่ว่าราชาของฉันทรงเดินอยู่บนพื้นหญ้าเก้าอี้ของพระราชาคือพื้นดินเขาบอกพระราชามาจากบนสวรรค์ได้ฟังอย่างนั้นฉันรู้มันคือความจริงเพราะว่าราชาของฉันคือเทวดาเดินดินไม่เหมือนที่เคยได้ยินจากนิทานท่านสอนให้เราพอเพียงพักเพียรทำแต่ความดีทรงสอนมา70 ปีไม่เคยเหนื่อยแต่แล้วมองความจำฟ้าบอกว่าถึงเวลาท่านจะต้องทรงพักผ่อนแล้วขอส่งให้เสียงเพลงดังไปยังสวรรค์ว่าพวกเรานั้นคิดถึงองค์พระราชาลูกจะทำแต่ความดีเหมือนที่พ่อเคยสอนมาเพื่อให้พระราชาหลับสบาย
Welcome everyone to Bunyan Meeting. and to this service where we will give thanks for the life of Saksitt Mohrasri. Well, on an occasion such as this, we naturally come with a whole host of different emotions. As we think about Sek in this service, we will shed our tears, we will smile, we will laugh, we will remember, and we will feel blessed that we have been able to share our lives with Sek. We will rejoice that he has touched our own living in so many different ways, as a husband, a father, a son, a brother, a friend. And we'll recall some of those good and happy times. And we'll remember times of challenge and times of joy. We know sadness and sorrow because of Sek's death. But in our service, we want to express our gratitude for his life, to give thanks for all that he was and for all that he still is to us. Sek's family in Thailand have sent a message for Catherine and the boys, which Prowit's now going to read for us in Thai.
ร้อยดวงจิตจากดวงใจมาเรียงร้อยกลั่นอารมณ์ผสมถ้อยร้อยภาษาเป็นเรื่องราวกล่าวก้อยคล้อยอำลาดังมาลาสุรีร้อยคล้อยสาการ56 ปีภาพความหลังยังตรึงจิตหลากเมตตาท่านอุทิศมหาศาลน้าเสกสิทธิ์เมาะลาสีอภิบาลวางรากฐานสายใยรักประจักษ์ใจท่านเป็นบุตรคนสุดท้องของพ่อแม่ด้วยรักแท้กรุณาจิตอันยิ่งใหญ่มอบความรักแก่พ่อชายด้วยดวงใจแม่ทองสุขกตัญญูให้ตลอดว่าเกิด101เมืองแผ่นดินถิ่นอีสานฝ่าฝังงานเพื่อครอบครัวสร้างคุณค่ามีรอยยิ้มพริ้มสดใสตลอดมาหลากกรุณาเพื่อญาติมิตรจิตอำไพเมื่อเปลวฟันลอยจากฟ้าลอยจากดินขึ้นสู่ฟ้าเป็นสัญญาณการจากลาชีวาวิสัยจะจดจำหลากเรื่องราวตลอดไปคุณความดีสลักไว้กลางใจอนันต์ต่อแต่นี้ขอน้าพักสานติสงบณเบื้องสัพพภพวิสุทธิหลังสรรค์ขอส่งท่านสถิวิมานสถานเทวันสู่เมืองฟ้าเสวยสวรรค์นิรันดร์เถิด
We stand and we join together in singing the hymn on our service sheet, "The Day Thou Gavest, Lord, is Ended." you'd please sit down. Prawit is now going to read for us again, once in Thai, but please feel free to follow the translation which is printed on your service sheet.
คุณเป็นแสงสว่างในชีวิตของใครๆหลายคนนำความกรุณาเสียงหัวเราะและความอุ่นมาให้เสมอฉันจะเก็บความทรงจำที่เราเคยแปรปั่นร่วมกันไว้และจะพาคุณไปกับฉันเสมอถึงคุณจะไปเร็วเกินไปแต่ไม่มีวันถูกลืมขอให้คุณหลับให้สบายฉันจำความทรงจำบางอย่างตอนที่เขาทำเส้นก๋วยเตี๋ยวผักให้เรากินที่บ้านคุณไม่ใช่แค่ครั้งแรกที่ได้ชิมรสชาติเหล่านั้นเท่านั้นแต่ตอนที่ฉันยังเป็นเด็กฉันไม่เคยกินผักที่อร่อยขนาดนี้มาก่อนฉันนั่งคุยกับเซ็กที่งานวันเกิดแม่ของคุณเมื่อฤดูร้อนที่แล้วแต่คุยเรื่องชนบทนิดหน่อยแต่เขาดูสงบและสงบเงียบดีฉันจำได้ว่าเขาเคยเจอเขาที่พรีเมียมซ็อกเกอร์เมื่อนานมาแล้วและทุกครั้งที่เจอเขาก็มักจะสนุกเสมอฉันจะจำรอยยิ้มที่สดใสของเขาและครั้งสุดท้ายที่เจอเขายิ้มอย่างมีความสุขและชนเครื่องดื่มแรงๆให้ฉันในงานแต่งงานพวกเรามีความทรงจำดีๆร่วมกันมากมายโดยเฉพาะในวันแต่งงานของฟินและเฮลี่เมื่อครอบครัวของเราทั้งสองได้มารวมกันเป็นหนึ่งเดียวความทรงจำเกี่ยวกับเซ็กคุณพ่อของคุณบนฟอร์เต้นรำและรอยยิ้มขณะรับประทานอาหารจะอยู่ในความทรงจำของเราตลอดไปเรารักเซ็กและจะจดจำความมีน้ำใจของเขาที่เคยช่วยเหลือเราหลายอย่างในบ้านตลอดไปฉันคิดว่าลูกๆของเธอคือผลจากการทำงานของเราและไม่ว่าจะด้วยเหตุผลใดก็ตามงานของเซ็กและคุณถือเป็นความสำเร็จไม่ใช่สำหรับผู้ชายที่คุณเลี้ยงดูมาเท่านั้นแต่สำหรับเซ็กความทักทายเพิ่มเติมทั้งหมดในการสร้างบ้านใหม่ในอีกฝั่งหนึ่งของโลกในดินแดนแปดหน้าฉันนึกไม่ออกว่าเขารับมือกับคุณอย่างไรแล้วคุณเซ็กจะรับมือกับความเจ็บปวดของเขาได้อย่างสมศักดิ์ศรีช่างน่าสมเพชจังไม่ต้องสงสัยเลยว่าลูกชายสุดหล่อของคุณเป็นพยานถึงความเอาใจใส่และความรักที่คุณทั้งคู่มอบให้พวกเขาทิ้งมรดกไว้มากมาย
Mom discovered this verse when she first met Dad. It meant something straight away. When she gave up work and went to Thailand again a year or so later, she wrote it in a card that she left for Gran and Grandpa. Do you know the pile-built village where the sago dealers trade? Do you know the reek of fish and wet bamboo? Do you know the steaming stillness of the orchid-scented glade when the blazoned bird-winged butterflies flap through? It is there that I am going with my camphor, net and boxes, to a gentle yellow pipe that I know, to my little wailing lemurs, to my palms and flying foxes. For the red gods call me out, and I must go.
Sek would enjoy playing the guitar and singing. And we now listen to some music that Sek would have particularly enjoyed.
Well, the sun is sure sinking down, but the moon is slowly rising. So this old world must still be spinning around, and I still love you. So close your eyes. You can close your eyes, it's alright. I don't know no love songs, and I can't sing the blues anymore, but I can sing this song, and you can sing this song when I'm gone. It won't be long before another day we gonna have a good time, and no one's gonna take that time away. You can stay as long as you like. So close your eyes. You can close your eyes, it's alright. I don't know no love songs, and I can't sing the blues anymore, but I can sing this song, and you can sing this song when I'm gone.
Catherine chose this poem because she felt it reflected how Sek died. The Sun Kept Setting by Emily Dickinson. The sun kept setting, setting still. No hue of afternoon upon the village I perceived. From house to house 'twas noon. The dusk kept dropping, dropping still. No dew upon the grass, but only on my forehead stopped and wandered in my face. My feet kept drowsing, drowsing still. My fingers were awake, yet why so little sound myself unto my seeming make? How well I knew the night before, I could not see it now. 'Tis dying I am doing, but I'm not afraid to know.
Think of me as one at rest. For me you should not weep. I have no pain, no troubled thoughts, for I am just asleep. The living think in me that was, is now forever still, and life goes on without me now, as time forever will. If your heart is heavy now, because I've gone away, dwell not long upon it, friend, for none of us can stay. Those of you who liked me, I sincerely thank you all, and those of you who loved me, I thank you most of all. And in my fleeting lifespan, as time went rushing by, I found some time to hesitate to laugh, to love, to cry. Matters it now if time began, if time will ever cease. I was here, I used it all, and now I am at peace.
Well, I've known Sek since Finn, Peter and Matthew were little lads. And he used to come to church with Catherine, played in the children's corner over there whilst Catherine tried to keep them quiet. Didn't always quite succeed, but they were generally very well behaved. Apart from when they would come up to the front for the time when I speak to the children in church. And they'd always give the most unexpected answers to my questions, particularly Finn, who'd always have the right answer to the question, but it was never the one I was hoping I'd have. We later began the Wednesday craft club, and Sek would come along from time to time with the boys and help with the various craft activities. And craft club was always so much fun. I recall running around the church hall just through the door here, giving piggybacks to Peter and Matthew. I don't think I'd manage that these days. And even then, Finn was far too heavy for that sort of thing. I remember once we put on a puppet show. We'd made puppets at Craft Club. And Sek came to our puppet show. And one lady from church who we had to help up the stairs, because we were upstairs in an upstairs room, a narrow staircase, and we enjoyed the puppet show together. More recently, Sek has been here in church at Christmas, and he really muddled the palliative care doctor when he was asked if he had religious beliefs. Yes, said Sek, just normal. Well, Matthew pointed out that Sek was Buddhist. And Sek added, and I go to church. I saw Sek the day before he died, went in and greeted him. Catherine was there. And he opened his eyes and he smiled and he clearly knew I was there. He then took a drink of water, didn't he? And then similarly, when I left, he bid me farewell. Sek was born the youngest and the last of 10 children on the 29th of May, 2511, or 1968, at Rev'd, northeastern Thailand, an area for many years considered the poor relation of the rest of Thailand. He grew up in a wooden house set upon stilts near a pond with palms and the family water buffalo nearby. He was a treasured boy, Nong, the little one. One of his sisters, Tem, said, everybody spoiled him. He talked of when he was old enough, perhaps 4 or 5, sleeping with his father so that he could get up very early at dawn to take the buffalo to where it needed to be taken that day. I've no doubt that even then he would have been something, as Catherine says, of a scallywag. He talked of others paying him to do their homework. And I'm sure there were some stories involving the border with Laos. He went to school in a temple, something that many children did in those days, and then on to secondary school before going to study agriculture at college. At some point, he did his monkhood for 3 months. I'm not sure that he was particularly good at it, given the tales of sleeping a lot and getting in trouble for playing golf inside the temple. Things I'm sure that monks should not be doing. He worked on a Swedish cruise ship. He'd never seen snow before, and he tried to save a snowball by keeping it in his pocket. Snow was completely new to him. And when a friend decided to go to Chiang Mai to be a trekking guide, Sek decided to do that too. And here, Catherine and Sek's story begins. Catherine writes, I met Sek on the 28th of May 1993, late in the evening at the Eagle Guest House, when a friend and I were doing the backpacking thing. We decided to go trekking in the hills around Chiang Mai, but this nearly had to be called off when Alex had some problems with money. I was secretly hoping that we'd not be able to go trekking, to be honest, but we did go. And what can I say about those 4 days and nights of mountains and hill tribe villages, and walking and elephants and washing in rivers, and mostly rain. I can't put into words what it was like, how it felt, and so I won't. And that was that. Until a few years later, I went to Singapore to visit my sister, Elspeth, and we went to Thailand instead of Vietnam. I've been put off Vietnam, to put it mildly, by tales of stepping on cockroaches when getting out of bed. And we went to the Eagle Guest House, and Sek had left by then, bought an ancient truck, and was buying lychees in Chiang Mai one day, driving overnight to Royet and selling them in the market the next. No one had ever had them before. Sometimes this would involve a broken down truck, a night's wait by the side of the road, and a truckload full of ruined fruit. Elspeth and I had some time with temples and the like, and then when Elspeth was gone trekking herself and I'd stayed in Chiang Mai, Sek appeared one morning when I'd just had breakfast. He'd come back to visit just by chance, and there we began. Several years of travelling back and forth by Aeroflot, never a great experience, but very cheap, until I gave up work and went, no plans at all. And we had a glorious and very romantic month, driving around Thailand and seeing as much as possible. Finn was the result. I went home in a panic, but Finn's coming was joyous. Katie, my dear friend, and I took him to Thailand the following summer, and we rang Sek from Chiang Mai, and he said, "Come." Finn knew him instantly, and I felt no guilt for the first time ever in handing Finn over to his dad. We stayed a while. Finn ate corn on the cob in the main. Katie and I dreamed of crispy apples and cheese sandwiches. It's funny what you crave for, isn't it? When you know you can't get it. The family and Sek welcomed us. Sek joined us in England on the 24th of June in 1999. Finn's second birthday. I did not give Sek credit for moving to a completely and utterly different life. I've realized that in recent years. Instead, we had food such as a quiche-type dish made with fruit yogurt. Finn and I made our way through it, and it slightly broke my heart and still does. Finn adored him from the start, and Sek adored us both. With 2 weeks' notice, we married on the 20th of December, 1999, during the school lunch break. So almost all of the staff could come along and be with us. And then in Thailand, in August 2000, these were very different affairs, as you can imagine, but equally important and meaningful. Peter, so relaxed and happy, arrived 2 years later. And Matthew, a complete, glorious surprise 14 months after Peter. Sek was instinctively brilliant with them all, rolling them up in half, as it were, when they were colicky. It looked awful, but they loved it. And it worked. And putting green tea in their milk, which I had kittens about, but turns out just to be the right thing. And not worrying about all the petty things that I worried about. Did it matter? Did it matter that their pajama tops rarely matched the bottoms? No. I see that now. I don't think anyone needs to listen to 25 years of marriage, often hard, sometimes very, but also just the usual mayhem of family life. So instead, some memories of Sek. Sek was a really practical man who could mend anything using next to nothing. His mending may have looked like a bodged job, but it always worked. I loved it when he mended things for a friend. He'd never accept any payment of any sort, except for, well, get something for Catherine. The chocolates, well, I enjoyed these as the fruit of his labours. His comforting of the boys when they were hurt, a quick Thai chant, and everything was mended. His quiet understanding of things that were difficult. One time I was waiting for results from a doctor. He slipped the envelope elsewhere so that we could enjoy our day out together before I read it. I still don't know whether this was the right thing or not to do, but it came from his heart. Checking the car before we drove anywhere, the oil and the like. Saving us all from certain death, or at least serious injury, by managing to stop the car when somebody drove out in front of us on one occasion. Building camps from anything he could find, on the beach, by rivers, in woods, up hills, and still doing this when the Thai sun threatened to roast me alive last summer. His providing of endless cups of coffee, no matter what time of day or night, dealing with endless mountains of ironing, and always knowing which bins had to go out. His muddles with the language, buying cashew nuts instead of chestnut mushrooms, putting cucumber in sandwiches, and having to spend an awfully long time looking for Onion Street on a map, when in fact it should have been Union Street. Wishing me happy birthday because he didn't know the word for anniversary. and having flour cheese for one of his last ever meals when he was in hospital. But his non-stop encouragement of the boys at football matches. I don't think anyone knew what you were trying to advise really, but your enthusiasm was endless. His generous hospitality towards all, friends and strangers alike. His laid-backness. To be honest, this quite often drove me mad. But it meant that nothing was ever too much trouble, and he accepted anything and everything largely. He was a dreamer with great ideas and plans. His cooking, well, always better when Thai food, but a sterling effort with fish fingers and the like, although I do not know that the boys will ever miss his chicken stew. His seemingly illogical beliefs, getting cross when the boys licked their yogurt lids in case they cut their mouths, but reversing on major roads in Thailand if he'd missed the turning he wanted. Never parking under trees in England, but parking directly beneath a tree that was being cut down in Thailand this summer. Perhaps Thai trees are made of sterner stuff. Never admitting to being worried or stressed about anything, but slowing down to a snail's pace when he was, always a sure sign. Helping the boys at the boys' school, going to parents' evenings. One time at parents' evening, Catherine saw that Sek had provided a display of hand-crafted animals, all with their Thai name written with them, dotted around the classroom. Helping on school trips, he was usually tasked with looking after the lunchboxes and lively boys. Never wanting to be the centre of attention or fuss, or for people to worry about him, but a star attraction at Thai get-togethers. His wide variety of jobs, including a cleaner at Newnham Middle School, working in a friend's factory, night shifts in a Tesco's warehouse, cooking and serving in a variety of restaurants, running his own restaurant, and finally opening a Thai restaurant in Royston, where all was going well until Sek became ill. It was in late November 2023 that Sek was initially given 3 months to live, having been healthy and fit for all of his life. But the wonders of science and unlikely chance meant that a daily pill brought us all an extra year of him being largely well, energetic and fit. In short, just himself. We have lived normally and extraordinarily, and all of that has been so very precious. Sek had the chance to go to Thailand, and the hospital pulled out all the stops to allow that to happen, and to have time with family and friends. And we joined him later. It was a wonderful, if painfully bittersweet trip. Time in Rev'd, Sek's hometown, included Finn and Hayley becoming engaged. At the top of Rev'd Tower, Sek's suggestion as to where Finn should propose. Then home, an all-clear appointment at the beginning of September, swiftly followed by it becoming clear that the medicine had stopped working. Sek has borne the last 3 months quietly, calmly, stoically. And we are so very grateful that whilst the suffering was hideous that he had to bear, that though the suffering was hideous that he had to bear it for such a relatively short time before he knew that he had reached his limit. Some of our most precious moments took place in those weeks before he died. Giggling, loving, caring, with Catherine, Finn, Peter, and Matthew by his side throughout. He said from the start that he was not scared, and he felt that his dying was natural. We know that at the end, Sek knew that it was his time to go. And we believe that he was okay with that. He knew that we'll look after each other and that we'd be okay too. We've heard about Catherine and Sek meeting, and the first time they met, Sek made Catherine a tape of music. And this tape included the track that we're going to sit and listen to as we look at some pictures.
Let me take you far away. You'd like a holiday. Let me take you far away. You'd like a holiday. Exchange the cold days for the sun. A good time and fun. Let me take you far away. You'd like a holiday. Let me take you far away. You'd like a holiday. Let me take you far away. You'd like a holiday. Exchange your troubles for some love. Wherever take you far away. You'd like longing for the sun. You will come to the island without name, longing for the sun. Be welcome on the island many miles away from home. Be welcome on the island without name, longing for the sun. You will come to the island many miles away from home. Away from away from
Yeah, a lot of people crying. I've only really ever made one other speech in my life, and it was here just a few weeks ago. And for that speech, everyone was laughing in the beginning and crying by the end. So we'll see how we get on. A lot of people were already crying, so I'm halfway there, but it might be a bit of a challenge. If you feel like you've heard what I've said before, Chris and I didn't coordinate on meeting notes, so he's actually stolen half my material. Which is unfortunate, but we knew the same person, so it's to be expected. Now, Dad, he absolutely hated a fuss being made over him, so he would hate all of this, and he'd hate that you were all here, just so everyone knows. But, you know, it wouldn't be right if I didn't stand here and say a few words about how he chose to live his life in many ways. And now, as many of you that knew him well will know, he was quite slow. Not mentally, just physically, he would walk around very slowly, as if he had, nowhere to go. He was always strolling along, as if he had nowhere to be. But he often would have somewhere to be, so it was a bloody pain. And he wasn't the fastest driver either, though he would go 40 in a 30 and he'd go 40 in a 60, so he was consistent at least. But it turned out after living and driving in this country for over 25 years, he'd been doing so illegally the whole time. He never had a valid license. But he didn't know, and I don't think he cared. And he didn't care much when they told him, you're not allowed to drive anymore. You can't do it. Unfortunately, at the same time, they changed the driving theory test rules, so you couldn't get a translation. And as you know, his English wasn't the best, so he wasn't able to do the test. So that was it for him, driving-wise. And it was a shame, because he gave a lot of people lifts. I could see a lot of friends took to parties and football and the likes, so... But as I said, it's been said a couple of times before, he was very, very laid back about pretty much everything. He'd always say, it'd be okay, be okay. I can do that. He was my dad, so I can, that's allowed. But he took this mentality to the extreme. When he was first diagnosed, he was given not even 3 months, and he took 18 months to go. He couldn't be rushed. He couldn't be rushed. And that's something they take very much to heart in Thailand. So I think, at this stage, I'd like to just give a few examples that I think, we would all recognise as Dad or Sek or whoever you knew him as. So I'll just go through those. So there was a time when I was very young, and we were in the airport, Heathrow probably, waiting to catch a flight to Thailand. And naturally, Dad had no idea which gate we were meant to be at, what time we were meant to be boarding, or anything of the sort. Until an airport official collared him and said, your gate's closing now, and you've got to go. So we were bundled onto this buggy, and we were zoomed off to this gate, and Dad wasn't visibly worried or stressed, or, again, didn't seem like he cared. what he was doing was enjoying the cart ride and waving at people that had made it to their gate on time and were waiting for their flight, as we should have been. But, you know, why not? What was the point in stressing there, honestly? As I said earlier, he was the family taxi for many years until he finally was told and believed that he wasn't allowed to drive. And his principal job was to drive me and occasionally other people to football every Sunday for the 10 years or so that I played for BPR. I can see some former teammates, just a couple around. And like a lot of the other dads in here will know, I can see again a couple more of those. Every Sunday we'd be in places like Luton or Leagrave, and every Sunday we'd get beaten, and none of these games were close. But he was always enthusiastic. He was always on the sideline cheering us on. Again, not sure what he was saying, and he was probably smoking. But he did so on the other side of the pitch. So, Joey, wherever you are, he wasn't next to you. I can't see you here somewhere. And then there's just another example of this sort of laid-back mentality. When we went to Thailand last year, and Peter, Matthew and I went out ahead of Mum and Hayley, and at the time I was planning on proposing to Hayley, and I followed through. And Dad and I were out for a drive, and I said to him, I'm thinking of proposing to Hayley, what do you think? And he carried on driving for a minute, and he was allowed to drive in Thailand, of course. And he said, if you want to, I think it's okay. So, okay. I was expecting a bit more. And then he carried on driving for a minute or so, and then he said, it'd be good, I think. Yeah. So it was an approval. It's as much as you're ever going to get out of it, to be honest. That being said, when he was diagnosed with cancer, it didn't much change his outlook in life. He always enjoyed the small things and living very much in the moment. He didn't undergo any sort of epiphany or had any sort of noticeable urge to live life any differently than he'd been doing. He was, as he had been, the same man throughout his life. So much so that there were times that we couldn't really tell there was something wrong with him, if it was his illness or if his medication or if it was just him. There was one evening we went to visit him, we'll remember, in hospital, and he was yapping on, as he often does. And he was trying to show us this picture he'd taken of the hostel floor. And it took us quite a while to realise he was absolutely high as a kite on morphine. And that he'd thought the grass was growing out of the hostel floor. And he was trying to take pictures of it and showing us and the nurses, and it was... But again, he was enjoying it, He was enjoying it. So while we often didn't notice some of the changes that were happening, not all of them were bad. We've spent much more time together as a family, and we've gotten much, much closer. And we also made extensive use of the disabled parking badge, which was afforded to us. And if you haven't got one of those, it is a plus to being disabled. I can see nods over there, yeah. And as I mentioned, we spent a few weeks in Thailand together last year, a final tour of his home country and a chance to see many of his siblings, nieces, nephews, cousins, and the like. And I've written here, as many of you may not know, he was last of 10 siblings, but of course you do know, because Chris has already said it. And again, he was born in a wooden shack with bare concrete floors, without running water or electricity. So naturally, when he came to Bedford some 30 years or so later, he felt right at home. But he quickly, as far as I've been told, he quickly made Bedford his home, and his network of friends and acquaintances and colleagues quickly grew. As in Thailand, he knew many, many people and was very well liked by most, if not all of them, I am sure. And it was not difficult for him to make friends. He was a very kind and friendly person by nature, but also by virtue of everything that he did. So he started off his adult life, as you saw in the slideshow, as a monk. Something we're pretty sure he did to avoid conscription into the Thai army at the time, though he never would admit it. And then a tour guide where he met Mum, and then a fruit seller, cruise ship worker, cleaner, painter, there's always one, painter and decorator, and then recently a chef or a cook. In more recent weeks and months, he spent a lot of time at Hayley and I's new house, stripping most of the wallpaper in the house. And of course, he was a self-proclaimed expert at whatever it was we were doing in the house. Knocking down a wall or pulling tiles off or replacing a window. Unfortunately, he was right most of the time, so we couldn't even, have a go at him for that. It's a pain. But only 3 weeks or so before he died, he was up on the garage roof pulling up planks and knocking the brick wall down with us, and he salvaged much of that wood in the process. because the garden shed floor needed replacing, of all things. Something he probably knew, as a lot of dads will know, is he would never actually get round to, but always made a thing of, I'll do that around the house, I will, I'll get there. Unfortunately, he never did, because obviously he's, that wood, remains lent against the garage wall to this day, inevitably. He was, as someone has said before, at many things very handy and very capable. And for just as many things, he was totally unhelpful. As I said before, he did not like to make a fuss or a fuss be made over him. But as Chris mentioned earlier, when we asked him, what do you want to do for the funeral? And he said, I don't mind. Whatever is okay. And he was a Buddhist all of his life. He was a monk for part of it. And then, as Chris said earlier, when he was asked by the hospital chaplain if he was religious, he said, I'm just normal. But I do go to church sometimes. So naturally, this is why we find ourselves in the church today. He didn't care. I don't mind. Do whatever. To many things he would say, no, I don't mind, it'd be okay. So we will take his ashes back to Thailand later this year for a more Buddhist ceremony to be held in his hometown, arranged by Sister Bartem, who on the phone had said that she too had asked him what he would like to do for his funeral, and who too had received the same answer, I no mind. Mai ban lai in Thai. He lived his life in this way right until the very end. He was very laid back, and he leaves behind him a legacy to this end, and something we should all take forward a little bit ourselves. He also leaves behind an extensive collection of Buddha pendants and necklaces, some of which we're wearing today, a wife of almost 25 years, 3 sons, and of course a pile of wood planks lent against the garage wall. But no, all joking aside, he would have appreciated everyone being here for him today, though he would never have said it, and it leaves me only to say that he was very loved throughout his life by many people, and he will be sorely missed. Thank you.
Thank you. I started to write this to Sek a few days before he had to leave us. Forgive me if I repeat it again. Dear Sek, I'm writing this now as you are clearly suffering, and I don't know that I will be able to write later. I don't know how to help you more, other than to be near you and to try and walk you home as best I can, which is all I've ever wanted since you became so very ill. We know that you feel that we have done that and held you through. The recent journey has been long and so very short, and the past months have been amongst the saddest and most horrible of months, but have also been amongst the most joyous and soft too. We would not have not had them. Darling, meeting you was momentous, trekking through new landscapes in a world so far from mine, and yet so right with you, vibrant, strong, funny, safe, and also not, and so new. Perhaps sometimes through the years of life we forget who first we met, but you were with us through, and to the end. Life must have been so very strange when you first came to me and Finn, and that always played on my mind. When I judged you, perhaps sometimes too harshly, I do think of myself being in the same situation as you. I would not have fared so well, I think. I think of the airport when you arrived and of how Finn was instantly your son, as he had been when you were first together in Thailand. I think he knew you from the start. And then came Peter, so chilled and content, and then Matthew, who rarely left your side for his first few years. You have been a fine father to them all. Yes, perhaps different from what we here expect, but love is what counts. And looking back, I think that your beliefs were really so much more important than so many of mine. Just after you were diagnosed, we went for a walk and a meal, And it turned out that the restaurant managers had worked with you before. I was moved beyond words by how much they thought of you. I know that people who met you and you became friends with, and there are many, many of those, liked you and loved you without fail. That has always made me very proud. These last months have brought the worst of times, but also the best. A return to the early days of us, loving, content, easy together, and fun. It hasn't just been the big memories that have been made, but perhaps more importantly, and certainly just as so, the walks and the coffees, the watching of fishing programs, the family meals, and even more giggles and love with the boys. I think I just have to do this. Sorry. There are so many people who need to be thanked, from strangers to family, to friends, to wider family and beyond, for the kindness and love they have brought us. Large gestures that have made a massive difference, and tiny gestures that have made a massive difference. We thank you all. But today, Sek, it is you I want to thank the most, for being with me, for bringing us the boys. They have been and are extraordinary young men. Dad and I are so very proud of you all. Sek, you died beautifully. We know that you were not scared and that you were ready to go. Though we miss you and hurt so much, we treasure the peace that you brought us with that. I just wish that you'd got to live more of your life. Darling, brave, stubborn, fun, heartbreaking, a scallywag, hospitable and kind, I say to you your eternal words. Don't worry, it's okay. Lapsabai natirak posek, ria rakun.
Following this service, Catherine and the boys will make their way to the crematorium, and you're all warmly invited to make your way to the Pheasant in Kimbolton Road to join them there for refreshments. I think details of the full address is printed on the order, on the back of the order of service. We've been moved this afternoon as we have remembered Sek, and as we've thought upon what Sek meant and still means to each one of us. And so we say our goodbyes. Sek, we cherish you. We're thankful that you have enriched our own lives in so many ways. And we will truly always hold you in our hearts. May peace rest upon you, Sek. And may we know peace and quietness of mind and heart as we ourselves continue our own journey.
away. And all your money won't another minute by. Dust in the wind. All we are is dust in the wind. All we are is dust in the wind. Dust in the wind. Everything is dust in the wind. Everything is dust in the wind.
I think we should just go to the corner.
Yes. Yeah.
We need to just go to the corner.
Catherine was saying, would I go with them in the car? If I do, would it be possible to get dropped off back?
Why not? I'll bring myself.
All right, that's all right. Because I'm going up to the festival. I've got my car down here. So, but she was concerned I'd get there with them. So. Right, so lovely. I'm just going back in one more. Sorry. Thank you. Sue, can you save those two for me and pop them in my vestry? Yeah. Thank you. I'm going up with them in the car and I'll come back and get mine.